the Yardbirds with Jeff Beck. I think that was very important. He started the ball rolling. Eric Clapton with Free, fantastic.
What's up, rock fans? Today we're talking about the legendary Ritchie Blackmore, the guitar wizard from Deep Purple and Rainbow, the man behind Smoke on the Water, the most iconic riff ever. But here's what nobody tells you about this guitar god. Sources claim Ritchie Blackmore was one of the most difficult and opinionated guitarists in rock history. He didn't just dislike other players. Insiders say he straight up hated them. We're talking about intense rivalries, brutal comments, and feuds that shocked the entire guitar world. Ritchie was known for his perfectionism and his short temper. Industry veterans suggest he had zero patience for guitarists he considered inferior or overrated.
Buddy Holly, and the same thing for them. And they had brilliant guitar players. Scotty Moore, Buddy Holly played.
When he didn't respect someone's playing, he made it crystal clear to everyone. From rock legends to blues masters, we've uncovered the most explosive guitar rivalries ever. You won't believe who made #1 on this list. So get ready, because we're counting down the top 10 guitarists Ritchie Blackmore allegedly couldn't stand. This is going to be wild. 10. Eddie Van Halen. Starting at number 10, we have Eddie Van Halen. Yes, the tapping legend himself. Sources claim Ritchie Blackmore thought Eddie's technique was flashy tricks without musical substance. He apparently couldn't stand Eddie's innovative playing style at all.
He was, as they say, an alpha guy, so was I. He wanted to control, I wanted to control, so we butted heads.
The tension began when Eddie revolutionized guitar in the late 70s. Insiders say Ritchie felt threatened by Eddie's two-handed tapping technique taking over rock music. He supposedly called it circus tricks for guitar players who can't write real melodies. One music journalist reported Ritchie saying Eddie's solos were meaningless speed runs that impressed teenagers but lacked actual composition. Things got awkward at Guitar Magazine interviews. Witnesses claim Ritchie refused to acknowledge Eddie's influence on modern guitar playing. Some say he dismissed Van Halen's entire catalog as party rock for drunken Americans. The rivalry became legendary among guitar enthusiasts worldwide. Here's what really bothered Ritchie. Sources suggest he believed Eddie represented everything wrong with 80s guitar playing. He apparently told friends that Eddie's showmanship overshadowed musical integrity and classical training. Industry veterans remember Ritchie saying tapping was a gimmick that would fade away, but it never did. 9. Slash. At number 9, we've got Slash, the top hat-wearing guitar hero. Sources claim Ritchie thought Slash was overrated and playing basic blues licks for massive credit.
And he has an incredible sense of humor. He's probably one of the only guys that can make me laugh.
He apparently resented Slash's huge popularity in the late 80s and 90s. The feud started when Guns N' Roses became the biggest rock band on the planet. Insiders say Ritchie was furious that Slash got called one of the greatest guitarists ever. He supposedly told music journalists that Slash was just playing pentatonic scales and getting worshipped for it. One anonymous source claimed Ritchie said Slash's solos were predictable blues cliches with no originality whatsoever. 8. Kirk Hammett. Number 8 brings us Kirk Hammett, Metallica's lead guitarist. Sources claim Ritchie thought Kirk was a one-dimensional metal player with limited musical vocabulary. He apparently couldn't respect Kirk's thrash metal approach to guitar at all. The rivalry began when Metallica dominated heavy metal in the 80s.
Joking, this is awful, dreadful stuff. And of course, I tended to agree.
Insiders say Ritchie dismissed Kirk's playing as fast but sloppy pentatonic exercises. He supposedly called Metallica's guitar work aggressive noise without melody or structure. One music critic reported Ritchie saying Kirk relied too heavily on wah pedals and effects instead of pure technique. Things got heated when guitar magazines compared thrash metal to classic rock guitar styles. Witnesses claim Ritchie made harsh comments about Kirk's lack of classical training. Some say he mocked Kirk's reliance on speed over melody constantly. The disrespect didn't go unnoticed by metal fans everywhere. Here's what drove Ritchie crazy. Sources suggest he believed Kirk represented the dumbing down of guitar playing in heavy music. He apparently told friends that thrash metal guitarists couldn't play clean if their lives depended on it. Industry veterans remember Ritchie refusing to acknowledge Metallica's influence on guitar music whatsoever. 7. Steve Vai. At number 7, we have Steve Vai, the technical genius himself. Sources claim Ritchie thought Steve's playing was soulless exercises in showing off without any real emotion. He apparently couldn't stand Steve's ultra-technical approach to guitar music.
If you played a joke on him, look out. He was going to kill you.
The tension started when Steve Vai emerged as a guitar virtuoso in the 80s. Insiders say Ritchie felt Steve represented everything pretentious about modern guitar playing. He supposedly called Steve's music mathematical wankery for guitar nerds. One anonymous source claimed Ritchie said Steve's compositions were impressive gymnastics that nobody actually wants to listen to more than once. Things turned awkward at guitar industry events. Witnesses remember Ritchie avoiding Steve completely at trade shows and conventions. Some insiders claim he made dismissive comments about Steve's custom guitars and elaborate stage setups. The coldness was noticed by everyone in attendance. Here's the really nasty part. Sources suggest Ritchie believed Steve Vai sacrificed musicality for technical perfection. He apparently told music journalists that Steve's playing lacked the human touch and emotional depth. Industry veterans recall Ritchie saying Steve could play a million notes, but couldn't write one memorable melody. 6. Joe Satriani. Number 6 brings us Joe Satriani, the instrumental rock legend. Sources claim Ritchie thought Joe's approach was boring technical demonstrations pretending to be actual songs. He apparently resented Joe's success with instrumental guitar albums immensely. The feud began when Joe's Surfing with the Alien became a massive hit. Insiders say Ritchie couldn't believe people bought instrumental albums full of guitar exercises. He supposedly told friends that Joe's music was background noise for guitar students practicing scales.
We don't take it too seriously, especially on stage. You can't take rock and roll too seriously.
One music producer claimed Ritchie said Joe's melodic sense was pedestrian and formulaic at best. Things got tense at guitar clinics and masterclasses. Witnesses claim Ritchie made sarcastic remarks about Joe's teaching methods and technique books. Some say he dismissed Joe's theoretical knowledge as useless academic nonsense for players who can't feel music naturally. The rivalry split the guitar education community completely. 5. Yngwie Malmsteen. At number 5, we've got Yngwie Malmsteen, the neoclassical shredmaster. Sources claim Ritchie thought Yngwie was a shameless copycat who stole his classical fusion idea and made it obnoxious. This rivalry was deeply personal and bitter. The tension exploded when Yngwie burst onto the scene playing classical-inspired metal. Insiders say Ritchie felt Yngwie had stolen his entire concept and made it faster and louder. He supposedly told music journalists that Yngwie was playing Bach at metal speeds and calling it original. One anonymous source claimed Ritchie said Yngwie had no restraint, no taste, just endless showing off. Things turned nuclear at Guitar Magazine features. Witnesses remember Ritchie becoming furious when journalists compared him to Yngwie favorably. Some insiders claim he walked out of interviews that mentioned Yngwie's name at all. The hatred was intense and completely mutual between these two classical guitar warriors. 4. Eric Clapton. Number 4 will shock you. Eric Clapton, God himself. Sources claim Ritchie couldn't stand Eric's blues purist approach and massive reputation. He apparently thought Eric was overrated and living off past glory for decades. The rivalry goes back to the 60s British blues boom. Insiders say Ritchie resented Eric getting crowned God while he got less recognition. He supposedly called Eric's playing safe and predictable blues recycling. One music critic reported Ritchie saying Eric never evolved beyond basic blues scales and pentatonic patterns. Things got nasty when both were compared in guitar magazines constantly. Witnesses claim Ritchie made cutting remarks about Eric's lack of innovation after Cream. Some say he dismissed Eric's entire solo career as boring blues rock for middle-aged listeners. The disrespect was shocking to blues rock fans everywhere. 3. Jeff Beck. At number 3, we have Jeff Beck, the most innovative guitarist ever. Sources claim Ritchie was jealous of Jeff's experimental approach and critical respect. He apparently thought Jeff was weird for the sake of being weird without serving the music. The feud started when Jeff Beck began his instrumental fusion experiments. Insiders say Ritchie couldn't understand why critics praised Jeff's unconventional playing so highly. He supposedly told friends that Jeff's music was unlistenable noise disguised as innovation. One anonymous source claimed Ritchie said Jeff abandoned rock guitar for aimless jazz fusion wandering. Things turned explosive at guitar award ceremonies. Witnesses remember Ritchie appearing bitter whenever Jeff won Lifetime Achievement honors. Some insiders claim he made dismissive gestures during Jeff's acceptance speeches. The jealousy was visible to everyone watching these events. Here's the brutal reality. Sources suggest Ritchie believed Jeff Beck was overrated by critics who confused weirdness with genius. He apparently felt Jeff's experimental phase alienated real rock fans completely. Industry veterans recall Ritchie saying, "Jeff could have been great, but wasted his talent on self-indulgent nonsense nobody wanted to hear." 2. Jimmy Page. Number 2 is absolutely massive. Jimmy Page, the legendary Led Zeppelin guitarist. Sources claim Ritchie thought Jimmy was sloppy, overrated, and stealing credit from better players. This rivalry defined British rock guitar wars. The tension began when Led Zeppelin became the biggest band on Earth. Insiders say Ritchie was furious that Jimmy got called one of the greatest guitarists ever. He supposedly told music journalists that Jimmy's playing was technically messy and full of mistakes. One music producer claimed Ritchie said Jimmy's solos were half-baked improvisations that only worked because of studio production magic. Things got legendary at industry gatherings. Witnesses remember Ritchie refusing to acknowledge Jimmy's presence at parties and events. Some say he made harsh comments about Led Zeppelin's blues appropriation and lack of originality. The rivalry became the stuff of rock and roll folklore. 1. Jimi Hendrix. Here we are. Number 1. Jimi Hendrix himself. Sources claim this was Ritchie's deepest and most painful jealousy in guitar history. He apparently couldn't accept that Jimmy was universally considered the greatest guitarist who ever lived. The rivalry began when Jimmy exploded onto the London scene in the late 60s. Insiders say Ritchie attended Jimmy's early shows and felt completely overshadowed by his revolutionary playing. He supposedly told friends that Jimmy was all feedback and theatrics without real musical knowledge. One anonymous source claimed Ritchie said Jimmy's success proved that showmanship beats actual skill every single time. Things became obsessive over the years. Witnesses remember Ritchie constantly bringing up Jimmy in interviews, always criticizing his technique. Some insiders claim he said Jimmy couldn't read music and relied on lucky accidents instead of deliberate composition. The bitterness lasted Ritchie's entire career. So there you have it. The top 10 guitarists Ritchie Blackmore allegedly hated most. These rivalries were intense and legendary. What do you think about these feuds? Drop your comments below. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for more shocking guitar secrets. Which rivalry surprised you most? Let us know. See you next time.